Welcome to Shomach Shav on the Daf. Shir sponsor Lui Nishba Asarim B'Yakov Shalom Leah Basitzchok. We're holding in Sanhedrin Daf Samech Zayin. The Gemara in Ein Od Milvado brings the story with Rab Chanino that there was this witch that was trying to take earth beneath the legs of Rab Chanino in order to create kshafim. So told Rab Chanino, you're not going to be able to do anything because Ein Od Milvado Ksiv. There's nobody but HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you cannot use kshafim against me. So says the Gemara, but we know that kshafim does work. So says the Gemara that Rav Chanino, Nafish Schusei, his schus is very great. The Nefesh HaChaim in Shar Gimel Perikut Beis says, that the Pshat of Chanino relied on his chusim. We know all the tzaddikim don't rely on their mitzvahs. But says Nefesh HaChaim, the Pshat is that if a person is living in a life where he's completely connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and everything that goes in his mind is Ein Od Milvado, there's no other power but HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so then he will be zoichet to a life like that the kshafim cannot hurt him. And this is what Rav Chanino relied on. He knew that his life that is completely dovdik b'HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the emunah that Ein Od Milvado. And that's why the kshafim, he knew the kshafim will not control him. And continues in Nefesh HaChaim and says, there's an eitzah gdoila for anybody that if he wants to know, he wants to have a way to be nitzel from any type of sakana, any type of bad influences in the world, he should go with his approach of Ein Od Milvado. He should think about Achdusoy HaPashut, the fact that Kosh Baruch Hu is Echad, and that will give him the way to be saved from any tzara. There's a story with the Briskerov. When he was running away from the Nazis, he came to a place where he was seeing the Nazis, and there was a big sakana that come and capture him. So he thought to himself, Ein Od Milvado, like this Nefesh HaChaim, with a full emunah, and he was saved. Now this Gemara and this Pshat of a Nefesh HaChaim helps to understand davar kosher me'oid in the Rambam. The Rambam in Perikut Aleph Milchos Avodas Kachavim, after speaking about many of the things that we learned in the previous sugyas, regarding the someone who's me'oinin, mechashef, and does all kinds of types of sorcery, says the Rambam, v'dvorim ha'elu kulam divrei sheker v'chozovim. They're all a lie. It was some thing that they made up, the goy made up. It's not proper for Yisrael. They're very smart to go after these shtosim to not think that there's any benefit from them. And then it adds the Rambam. Anybody believes in these things, he thinks in his heart, it's really emes, but the Torah said no. He's missing das. The one who have chokhmah, they'll know with clear proofs it's shtosim shenimshechu behem chasrei hadas v'notshu kol darkei emes biglola. So the Rambam says very strongly that all these things that we mentioned in the previous sugyas is all not true. And first of all, it's very difficult to understand because if you go through the Gemaras, it's almost clear that the Gemara is saying that all these things have the powers and are emes. It's not a sheker. And the Vilna Gaon has a very sharp loshen against the Rambam. The Vilna Gaon in Bira Gra on Yeridel, Simen Kufa Intes Sif Koton Yud Gimel. He quotes the Rambam. And then he says, he was hit on his head. Look at the Gemara. The Gemara is full of stories with sorcery. And he brings our Gemara in this daf. And he brings all the stories in the Torah regarding Tzias Mitzrayim. And says the Gemara, and this is the Loshen, very, very stark Loshen. Philosophia hitato b'roi v'likho. The philosophy caused the Rambam to make the mistake. Lefarish ha-Gemara kol b'derech halatzi v'la'kurso mipshotom. That he took away the pshat of the Gemara. Says the Vilna Gaon, v'chas v'shalom, eini ma'amin behem, v'loi mehem, v'loi ma'amonim. I don't believe in these things that the Rambam says. Ela kol advorim hem kipshotom. They're all a pshat. Ela sheyesh behem pnimius. There's oimek in this pshat. Not the pshat of the philosophers. ela shel balei ha'emes. So the guy in the Gemara is attacking very strongly the Rambam. And the shaila is, what's pshat in the Rambam? So my Rabbi Rav Moshe Shapiro Zatzal in his shiurim, and it was printed in the Sefer Nechus Yomo that we put out the past year. He used to explain the pshat in the Rambam is as follows. Havade, the Rambam agrees that all the kshafim and all these koiches and all the sorcery exists in the world. But the Rambam is referring to what the Nefesh HaChaim is saying in our Gemara. The way a Yid's supposed to live is a life of Ein Od Milvado. He has to go with the emunah and the yediyah that Kadosh Baruch Hu is here. And all these koiches mimel are going to be batel. Because someone who lives his life with Ein Od Milvado, so all these powers have nothing to do with him. Not that these powers in the world do not exist. But someone who lives Ein Od Milvado, these powers are not negiyah to him. And that's what the Rambam is saying about Chochma Matri Yadas, Yedu Birayos Brewers, Shekolelu Advoin Shasa Torah. Ain't David Chochma. That's not Chochma. Ela Toyu Ve'evel. Toyu Ve'evel doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. But it's something that's there if you live a life which is a lower life. A life Shenim Shechu Be'em Chasrei Adas, Ve'natshu Kol Dar Kayemes Biglolam. But if you live a life of emes, if you're living a life where Ein Od Milvado, so then all these things don't exist. Not that they don't have these powers in the world, but they're not nergeah to someone who lives a life of Ein Od Milvado, as we see in our Gemara. To save the Rambam from the great kushas that we have from our Gemaras and from the attack of the Vilna Gaon. Anyone who wants to join the Shomachshava email list to WhatsApp, please email shomachshava@gmail.com.